Merry Christmas, everybody. Just because it is Christmas Day, I thought I'd do something a little bit special for you guys. A special kind of theory, if you will. I've been thinking a lot recently about Greg Universe. Going back and rewatching a few of the prominent Greg episodes, the episodes where Greg contributed to the plot of the individual episode in a significant way, or else was allowed to relay some exposition which contributes to the plot overall in some significant way. And there's one scene that always sticks out to me. It's this scene right here in Greg's van, when he is taking Steven away from Beach City during the invasion and the return. This is when we finally get the reveal of the Gem War, something that we've been suspecting for a long time at this point in the series. I gotta be honest, when I first watched this episode, I didn't expect this reveal to come from Greg. But in a way, it does make sense, because the Crystal Gems don't really want to talk to Steven about this kind of stuff. And at the time, they still hadn't quite reached the point where they felt like it was important to be open and honest with him yet, whereas Greg kind of always was. But honestly, I didn't even really expect Greg to know about this. I mean, I expected him to know that the gems were involved in a war, but I didn't expect him to know any details. Honestly, why would Rose tell him any of the details? It just didn't make sense to me. And now, of course, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that there is no way she would possibly tell him the details of the war or any of the battles in it. It just doesn't really seem like the kind of thing that she would want to talk about or that he would really want to hear about either. So it just struck me as odd that not only did he know details of the climactic final battle in that war, but he also got so nervous when it came to his insistence that it's not like he was there. It's almost as if he's anticipating a question from Steven, one that Steven never reasonably would have asked. Steven may not be the most learned child, but he knows that humans don't live for thousands of years. This raised some questions regarding another prominent Greg scene, the scene where he talks to Blue Diamond. He sees her grieving over the loss of Pink Diamond, but he doesn't know the details of it, or at least there's no reasonable reason to assume that he does. And yet he speaks to her as if he knows literally exactly what it is that she's going through. I mean, yes, he's experienced loss in his life too, but he doesn't even go so far as to ask for the name of the person that she's feeling loss for, or even a casual inquiry into how it is that they died. These are common things that you tend to see people ask people when they're discussing grief over a loss. And yet Greg skips over those things and just makes the assumption that his loss and Blue Diamond's are in some way analogous, when they may not really be so at all. Obviously, the oddness in both of these scenarios can be explained away by odd writing choices, or me misinterpreting the details in these scenes as something other than what they are. But as the latter of those two options cannot possibly be true, and we can't reasonably assume the former, I feel that it is my responsibility to explore the option that Greg may have actually been there for the war. As ridiculous an assertion as that may be, I feel like we have to at least explore the idea. So if we are committing to exploring this idea, then that begs the question, who or what is Greg? And I think the answer to that is pretty obvious, since he tells us himself. He's an alien. A lot of you guys have been wondering if we're ever going to see other aliens in Steven Universe aside from the gems, and I think we have. I think Greg's an alien. I think his song, Like a Comet, is secretly about him crashing to Earth thousands of years ago, in some kind of spaceship or escape pod. When he saw the gems, other visitors to this planet fighting for their freedom, it sparked something in him, and I think he actually became involved in the war for a while. Moved by the struggle of the crystal gems, because he is one of the last remnants of the species that I hypothesize created them. Greg is very much a free spirit. It's possible he even left his people behind, because he was too much of a free spirit to fit within their society. Seeing the crystal gems, beings evolved from the creations of his own people, fighting back against their oppressors, trying to seize for themselves freedom, would have resonated with him. It seems perfectly reasonable to me that he would, even if he did so in some limited capacity, become involved in their fight. I mean, obviously it's not possible for him to have met Rose during the war, but he may have known of her, and that's part of the reason why he was drawn to her later in Beach City. It's not all that outlandish to assume that beings advanced enough to create the gems would also have the technology to vastly extend a humanoid life. Our current medical science actually has a pretty good grasp on why we quote-unquote grow old, why our physiology changes as we age. It should be possible to halt the process, at which point we humans would then only die from things like accidents, willful acts of violence, and disease. Avoid the first two and develop the medical technology necessary to overcome the third, and you effectively have immortal humans. It's possible that his life was extended via similar medical technology, or else he just had access to a form of stasis without aging until humanity had developed to a point where he could live comfortably among them. Then he picked a family, maybe at random, the DeMeo family, and manipulated their minds via technology so that they would accept him as a member of their family. It's possible that he even manipulated his own mind to forget his origins so that he would fit in better, but that aspects of his original personality remain. That nagging feeling that he's been alive much longer than normal people. Impressions of the gems, hence why he was so drawn to them once he learned of their existence. And the desire for freedom which inspired him to leave his people behind in the first place. Likewise inspiring him to leave his new family behind, become Greg Universe. Write songs about himself being someone who literally fell from the stars, and eventually meet and fall for another alien just like himself. This even explains a bit how he was able to network his own human technology with gem technology in a relatively simple manner. One which, from an outsider perspective, seems completely ridiculous and impossible, and is, in fact, very reminiscent of Pearl's ability to cobble together completely unrelated technologies into something with a completely separate function from any of them. He doesn't remember his time living among this more advanced society, but impressions of his knowledge from that time are still there, allowing him to do things with technology that don't make sense to someone at a human technological level. So the real question at this point is, does Greg remember his old life, or do his knee-jerk reaction in the return and his longing for adventure and freedom stem from some impression of that old life left behind after he wiped his memories to fit in better? If the former is true, then this changes everything. Greg may be the key to learning every secret and defeating every enemy left in the show. Even if the latter is true, if this version of memory removal is along the lines of, say, Gravity Falls' memory gun, then it may still be possible for him to get that knowledge back and offer some sort of assistance in the future. Like, this may sound like a crack theory, like I'm effectively pranking all of you guys and passing it off as a Christmas gift because I think it's funny to do so, but do I really seem like the kind of person who would do that? No, I don't. So of course, this theory is objectively true. Also, the Earth is flat and gold is a worthwhile investment. As per usual though, guys, I'd like to know, what do you think of this theory? Assuming that you actually made it all the way through the video. Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below. I couldn't keep myself from laughing anymore. Either way, this has been AJ22 saying Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever, and I will talk to you guys later.